LSU is one such wounded animal. Last time that we saw them play a meaningful game, they played against Florida State. We saw them get absolutely embarrassed on national television. In prime time TV, we saw LSU get embarrassed. And because of that, we saw them fall from their initial top 5 ranking. Now they're down to number 14 in the entire country. The team that they're going to play up against, though, maybe not a wounded animal, but certainly has some things to prove. Mississippi State, undefeated right now, 2-0. They have an FCS win against Southeast Louisiana, and then their most recent game against Arizona. They beat Arizona, but not looking impressive against Arizona, if that makes sense, right? Because Mississippi State actually had to go to overtime at home in order to beat Arizona. So while the Bulldogs are not in the same wounded animal mindset that maybe LSU would be, we do have Mississippi State. They got some things to prove. They want to prove to themselves that they can be a team that could at least make some noise in the SEC East. I think I got that right. I think that's where, no, not the East, the West. Wow, I'm bad, absolutely terrible with my geography. That is on me. So this is an SEC West divisional matchup. So this could have a direct impact later on in terms of who goes to Atlanta at the end of the year. Not very many people have Mississippi State going to Atlanta. They were actually picked to finish last in the SEC West this year, but I still think Mississippi State could certainly be a team that, could make that race a little bit interesting, maybe be that ultimate spoiler. So let's dive in. So this game is going to be in Starkville, Mississippi. This will be played at Davis Wade Stadium on Mississippi State's campus. We'll go ahead and check out what the game line is, and we'll also check out what the any given Saturday model looks like. So right now, the game line as of Monday morning, LSU was favored by 9.5 points, but the model thinks this game is going to be a little bit closer than 9.5 points. Right now, the model has still LSU winning, but maybe it's a closer game than what would be expected. LSU only favored by 8 points according to that any given Saturday model. So we've seen these two teams really being able to move the ball downfield. LSU has averaged over 500 yards of total offense per game. Mississippi State, not too bad either. Kind of away from what we saw under the late, great Mike Leach. Rest in peace to his soul, who absolutely deserves to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, by the way. It's a little bit different offense than maybe what you would see under Mike Leach. Still an effective offense, though. They ran for over 200 yards rushing in their first couple of games against Southeast Louisiana and Arizona as well. They're led by their tailback, and their tailback, Jaquavius Marks. He's a dangerous running back, man. He is absolutely dangerous. On track to having a career year, by the way. Never ran for more than 600 yards in a year. He's on pace right now to run for over 1,200 yards. We'll see if he can keep that up, but he's on pace to run for over 1,200 yards this season. That's how good he's been. And we also know about Mississippi State's quarterback, Will Rogers. Will Rogers still hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. 33 for 46, 390 yards, and 5 touchdowns. We know that he can sling the rock around. We've seen this under Mike Leach. We've seen this under this new coaching staff as well. So Will Rogers, maybe not someone that you think of right away as one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC, but he's certainly an experienced quarterback. So how does this upset happen? Well, it's going to be a similar formula than maybe what we saw how Florida State was able to beat LSU. Because how did LSU lose to Florida State, right? How does that happen? Okay. So you got to get to this quarterback, man. You got to get to Jalen Daniels. We'll see if they're capable of doing that. Florida State had 4 sacks. So pass rush really got to step up for Mississippi State in order to pull this off first and foremost. You also need Will Rogers, I think, to have your best game of the season. You haven't needed Will Rogers to throw the ball that much. You're averaging 20 free attempts a game. I think this is a game where Will Rogers will need to throw the ball a little bit more, because I could see this being a little bit more of a high scoring game. The over that I'm seeing right now is at 53. I think could be more than that, because Mississippi State, we know what they can do stopping the run. They've been really effective stopping the run so far, only allowing 87 yards a game. But that's not really LSU's MO. That is more in their passing game, and they have some dynamic players on the outside too. So get to Jalen Daniels. And if you can get to Jalen Daniels, you can at least disrupt the passing game enough to where you have a shot to win this game. And on top of that, Will Rogers, he's got to come to play, man. I think this is going to be the most attempts that he's going to have in this ball game. He's been able to do it in spots in the past. If he can't rise up to the occasion, LSU could certainly roll by any means. But what do I think is going to happen? Do I agree with the model? Do I agree with Vegas? Where do I stand in all of this? I think LSU does win. I think that LSU, it's just too talented of a football team to start the year 1-2. I truly think it is. That Florida State game left a tough pill to swallow, but I think they got their swagger back. They got that get-right game that they were looking for. And Mississippi State, we'll see if they can continue to hang with LSU. But the idea of Arizona going to overtime with you just doesn't really sit right with me. So I'm going to go with LSU. I don't think that it's going to be a game where LSU covers. But I think that LSU is going to win this game, though. I feel pretty confident in that.